It's Whanaward Daily, England, New Zealand men T20 International Series. Here at Old Trafford, Adam Collins, Cam Ponsonby, the hosts have spifflicated the visitors again. Cam, 30 seconds.
England get off to a slow start. They're 48 for 2 after 8. We're thinking, oh, maybe it's really difficult out there. Bairstow and Brook change their mind, decide it's incredibly easy. They get 70 off the next 5 or 6 overs. They're going at 14s, get England up to the best part of 200. New Zealand start pretty poorly. Gus Atkinson gets a wicket on debut in his first over. They get to about 70 for 3. They're going nowhere. They collapse in the heap. 100 all out. England win by loads.
They won by 95, all out for 103. England making 198 for 4. Bairstow not out, 86 from 60 balls. A standard 131 in 65 rocks with Brook, who made 67 from 36. They hit 136 of their runs in boundaries. They still absorbed 47 dot balls. I'm actually not sure whether that's statistically relevant or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. On commentary, it kind of felt like it was. Like New Zealand had their moment. Certainly in the power play, they kept them to 40. New Zealand made more runs in the power play than England. The problem was they were 3 down by that point in time, and that was just where England were building. The real one that stood out to me, they lost 2 for 9 in 19 balls between overs 6 and 9, England, and then they hit 24 from their next 7. At one point, Bairstow hit 30 runs in 10 deliveries after passing 50. He probably should have made 100, but he slowed down right at the end. It felt like a kind of an odd innings. You see 198 for 4, and you think it feels a certain way, but it kind of didn't. Like England had an extraordinary period in the middle after being a bit sketchy, run a ball at the start, and weirdly a bit sketchy at the end.
Absolutely. Bairstow was 26 off 28.
They
hadn't gone anywhere, and Adam Milne bowled beautifully at the start of the innings. You look at the scorecard, everyone's gone at 12s or whatever, and Milne's gone at less than a run a ball.
Yep.
Then they flipped that switch, and then it slowed down again. But because we'd had this period of time between Bairstow and Brook where it was so relentless, it kind of felt like you were going to look up at the board at the end of the innings and it was going to be 220.
Sure.
And it wasn't. But the fact of the matter is, New Zealand just don't bat deep enough. That I genuinely, this might have been arrogance or whatever you want to call it on my part. First ball of the second innings, I've written on my line, I've written in my report, England win by X runs.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is just what's going to happen, and New Zealand are not going to chase these. And it was another example of just one side being quite a lot better than the other, improving it.
And they've got the flex as well. So England used 7 bowlers tonight, and bowlers 6 and 7 were Livingston and Jacks, who took a wicket each in their 1 over. New Zealand had 5 bowlers to go to, and in the absence of Jimmy Neesham, who's away on parental duties at the moment, who was going to be bowler 6 was going to be Glenn Phillips. It was hard to kind of work out who could bowl a cheeky over or 2. Tim Southee takes 1 for 8 in his first 2 overs, concedes 40 runs from overs 3 and 4. If he had another bowler, it might have been he had some flex there when things were tough, but he didn't, and that's a depth problem New Zealand are experiencing at the moment. And look, we're only 8 months away from a World Cup. They made the final in 2021. They made the semi-final last year against Pakistan and lost that to Pakistan at the SCG. But they were there and thereabouts throughout the tournament. They beat Australia, thumped them. It feels like this is kind of quite a sudden slump for New Zealand, even if they haven't got all their players right now.
It's funny you say that. Johnny Bairstow was just kind of asked that question in the press conference. He was asked, do you want a bit of tougher opposition, so close to the World Cup? And he kind of put the brakes on. He went, whoa. These guys beat us in a T20 World Cup semi-final less than 2 years ago, 2 years in 2021. This is a seriously good team just in a slump. And I also find, yes, they're missing that one bowling option, but even something as simple as having Tim Southee at 8 rather than 10 gives that illusion of batting depth a bit more. Because Adam Milne walks out at number 8, and he's batted 7 in first-class cricket a little bit. But England have Sam Curran, who bats 4 in franchise cricket around the world. The depth chart is just nowhere near the same. As you do I know teams are always worse when they don't have their best players.
Yep.
But you do put Jimmy Neesham in there and the team does get better. I think it is just a slight tweak. I don't think they're as far away as these 2 matches suggest, basically.
Yeah, in all probability that's true. But I'm mindful of the 50 over World Cup that's coming up. 4 years ago, New Zealand were totally underdone coming into 2019, and they came within a hair's breadth of winning the bloody thing. So they do find a way when it matters most, but they're a long way off the mark in this series so far.
We'll get Cole Jamieson back as well.
They get big Cole Jamieson back, who he's barely bowled a ball in anger for 14 months.
I just reminded me, I saw Kane Williamson doing his warm-ups here.
Me too, yeah.
I reckon he might be the slowest man in the world. His sprints, I wasn't impressed.
What I will say about Williamson was he was doing some quite rigorous leg workouts. Coney and I were watching it. I mean, he's putting a lot of pressure on that right leg, and he needs to prove his fitness within 2 weeks. So whether Williamson's even in their best team at T20 level, he probably is still. I know there was a lot of debate around that at the World Cup in Australia last year. You'll have a more sophisticated view than me, being part of that kind of Viz world and me being a sort of Neanderthalic test fan. Williamson just that stability that he would provide and afford the experience in the lineup going into another World Cup?
I think in terms of in the context of the T20 World Cup, I think what Williamson does there is he just adds that depth. He allows everyone else to go a bit harder if he's there kind of giving that element of control. And the idea is, I want to be a Neanderthal, by the way. I don't want to get sucked into that cricket viz world. I've got the logins, but it's too much for me. I find myself referencing like swing percentages and pieces now, and I hate it. But what he does then is, if you get him back and then you add Kyle Jamieson into the equation, if you become a better bowling team and you have a batter you can bat through, that gives you a better chance of winning. And they will be in a strong position, but they might just fall over again. So if this is how fragile they are, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I'll say two things about their bowling. One is that Lockie Ferguson's done for 43. Another day he takes like 3 for 20 bowling as well as he did. He was super unlucky. 15 from his first over, which was like exceptional. I know that'll sound like a weird thing to say, but the way the over transpired, hit for 6 for 1 to hit the top edge, a ball that missed leg stump by a millimetre, beating Bairstow a couple of times with slower balls and all the rest of it. And Milne conceding 23 runs in 4 overs. I know he played in that World Cup final against Australia a couple of years ago. Injuries have kept him out of the side more than he's been in it. He was an integral part of New Zealand's rise to the World Cup final back in 2015 in the 50-over format of the game. You've had a bit to do with him in America recently. His in-swing today was outstanding at pace at the very top, and he managed to finish it off at the end and keep England below 200. None of that's for nothing.
The ball was hooping. Like the first 6 overs, to go back and use one of those cricket stats, like of the 160 T20s to be played in England, of the power play, it was like the 10th most swing ever, basically. Have that one, get it on your wall. But yeah, Adam Milne's been bowling exceptionally well, and he's only actually just got back into the New Zealand setup. He was absent for a while. I spoke to him over in America, and kind of in view of this World Cup, I was like, are you hoping, you wanting to go? And he's like, I'll be like gutted if I don't, basically. So he's managed to force his way back into this setup. He really had loads of injury problems. He played like a first-class game for the first time in years the other, like a couple of months ago. But that is such a benefit to New Zealand in terms of, we're talking about the power play, we're talking about New Zealand's bowling at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's weird, isn't it? We haven't talked about Johnny Bairstow or Brook or Milan's 4-ball duck or the Wandsworth Joffre. We're going to get to all of these things. I got it right this time, right? It's Wandsworth, right?
Yeah.
Not Lambeth.
The ones with Joffre.
I got that wrong on Surrey comms with you, and you nearly fucking smashed me in the face, which is fair enough too. Let's go through them one by one. Cool. Milan's 4-ball duck, which was in its own way funny. 3 swings and misses, followed by missing. Admittedly, Sartner's one did turn prodigiously, and it was a nice paced delivery from a finger spinner. But like from a guy who looked rusty for 50 odd the other day and came out firing in the media conference. I was reading your piece on Cricinfo where he was quite strident about the fact that he's not competing with Harry Brook, but I mean, it wouldn't be a good time for him to fall out of form.
I found it so funny, just because in the context of 24 hours ago he's gone, I'm not here to please anyone, I'm here to score runs, and he gets a 4-ball duck where he's missed every ball, and you're like, it's not great, you haven't scored runs and you haven't pleased people there, like you failed on both counts. And in the context of that, I found that very funny, and especially when he's walking off, everyone's allowed to get out, I get that.
Sure.
Milan's had an unbelievable few years. To then be replaced by Harry Brook, who got the reception he did. It was loud. People are coming to cricket matches at the moment to watch Harry Brook. And he started a little bit slowly as well. I think he was about 3 off 6, and then like the flip switched, and he kind of just showed his quality. And it's just the range of shots. He missed his scoop a couple of times today, which is always meant to be one of his things where he can send the fine leg back and then get the fine leg up and X, Y, Z. And he missed it a couple of times, but it didn't matter because he still had 17 other shots he could play. It's getting to the point now where my opinion of the World Cup squad is pick him and work the rest out. Like there are some scenarios where you'd rather have Liam Livingstone or some scenarios where you'd rather have Davin Milan, but there's every scenario where there's a case where your England are batting. Is England's batting lineup better or worse with Harry Brook in it? It's better with him in it every single time.
Yeah, and we saw the way he manipulated the field with it's almost like a switch hit, isn't it, more than a reverse when he gets it over the top of point. He hits that with the same percentage frequency, I reckon, as like Maxwell does. And Maxwell's been doing it for 15 years, right? And this guy's 22 or 23, whatever it works out to be. He's clearly a freak. And the way he batted with Bairstow, he makes 67 here after. There was a case that he was the player of the match, not Bairstow, I thought. I know Bairstow gets the gong, but it's just in the way that it was the acceleration from Brook that made everything feel a little bit different. That partnership, they were rocking along at about 15 and over for about 6 overs there when there was nothing New Zealand could do. And Brook, he did it with the mid-on, mid-off Malachi as well. I think it was Southey bowling to him. He pops one over mid-on, then mid-on, then long on goes back, mid-off comes up, then he slaps it there. And what do you do as a fielding captain in a situation where a guy is as 360 as him? And the two inside out, lofted cover drives for 6 off East Shody. That takes some doing too, even if you are hitting with the spin.
I mean, like, he's a joke, basically. And, like, Johnny Bairstow got the man of the match award because he got the biggest number award, basically. Like, he scored the most runs, so therefore he was the best player. And don't get me wrong, he batted very well. And I think it's a sign of a player's quality where they can get 86 not out off 60 balls, and we just go like, well done, Johnny. We've seen you. We know you can do that. Like, we're all going to carry on with our lives, basically. But that versatility that Brook has, he brought that tempo to the innings, and so he went to scoop one off Ferguson, missed it, just missed leg stump, and the same ball was bowled, and he backed away and he kind of slapped it through point. So he has his plan B is better than everyone else's plan A, basically. He has so many options to go to. And it was him who kind of really injected and lifted that innings. Because Bairstow started slowly. I think that was very much allowed. The ball was going around corners. Then he slowed down. Had he carried on, he might have got to 100. But no, I think I'm in the same boat as you, where people are going to remember this match for Brook's innings more than Bairstow's.
Let's talk about the bloke you've been playing with since you were a kid. Atkinson is a guy I've watched bowl at Surrey and thought, gee, he's got a yard. Both in the blast, but almost more notably in 4-day cricket. When I've seen him bowl in 4-day cricket, I'm like, he's fucking quick. Tonight, he has that Joffre thing going on where he doesn't really look like he's bending his back or exerting himself, yet he's so rhythmical and beautiful with the way he lets the ball go. I reckon his release point's quite a long way forward as well, which makes it even quicker once more. Second delivery was 92 mile an hour, which is 150 new money or near enough to it, and gets a wicket in that first over, which, and as I turn my page, I can tell you who it was. You probably remember, you've probably written about it. It was Conway, of course.
Yeah.
Not a bad first scalp in international cricket. Then he takes 3 and 5 balls at the end, one with the short ball, one with a clever bit of bowling with Southey across his stumps, and one with a lightning fast, well, it was a low full toss, but almost Yorker length to a number 11, which is what you kind of want to do at the very end. They miss you hit at that pace, and believe the hype?
Yeah, I don't really know how to address it. Like, at risk of being sincere for a second, like, I don't know Gus very well, but I've known him for quite a long time. And I know him well enough to have been like genuinely taken aback and genuinely so pleased from when you see him walking out. You go, fucking hell, he's playing for England.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Like, to go back 10 years and have seen him around the club, coached him and whatever. And his rise has been so quick. Like, 3 years ago, he wasn't playing for Surrey, and he basically had this net session with Vikram Solanki and Jordan Clark, where Vikram Solanki just went like, just bowl as fast as you can, mate. Like, let's just go. Like, his run-up wasn't feeling quite right. And the words he said to me when we did a piece for Cricinfo was like, I thought I was trying, and I realised I actually hadn't been. Like, I didn't realise how much effort I could put in. And there's been a bit of a binary change from that. Like, you come back a year ago and he's filled out, he looks like a man. And all of a sudden, you've got people who kind of know what they're talking about, looking at him and going, this guy's quick. Like, so the Joffre chat, I said it initially as a joke because I found it quite funny. And then little did I know, other people who actually knew what they were talking about were going, no, seriously, Bairstow's just talking about him in the press conference where he goes like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised by his rise at all. We'd heard like rumours about this kid bowling quick, and like you saw how quickly Joffre's pace changed things for him. And so the powers that be within England seem dead set on this kid. Like, and maybe that's me wearing very rose-tinted glasses. But also when I try and remove myself from that and just be like, no, if you were just hearing these things said about any other player, there's a player there that England are looking to heavily invest in now.
And there's another part to it as well. He's 25. You hear all the biomechanists and so on talk about the risk factors for fast bowlers dissipating after about age 24, 25. He's hitting that point now where he's bowling a lot more overs in high-level cricket. Like, his body, in theory, should be relatively resilient. So that's really exciting for England. And also, I do note that he got the hair done nice for this. The beard was trimmed like the way you do when you go to the barber. Like, that's what England players do. They look a certain way. He looks like an England player from his very first delivery tonight.
So I've noticed a direct correlation with how attractive Gus has been with how well he's been doing.
Yep.
Kind of, he used to have this like shit Justin Bieber mop, came back, trimmed up, short back and sides, beard, all of a sudden bowls quicker, plays for England. So basically I'm getting a haircut and we're getting in the ones.
There's something like that. Well, you played in the ones last week. Are you in the ones again tomorrow?
I am, mate.
We shouldn't really talk about this.
No, but what made me laugh, I realised this, I don't know if this was translate, but So I finally made the ones group chat for the last weekend of the season, and so you've got the names in the list, and name number 1, courtesy of the alphabet, is Gus Atkinson, and a few names down as me. So I think it's the only weekend I'll ever be in the same group chat as a current England player in my life. So I'm gonna ride out on it. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning it.
We're going to drive down the M1 later, and we're going to talk about it a lot. Your sidearm round the wicket, non-spinning off breaks. They'll probably take a bag tomorrow. No, they go all right. We've got a game to play together in a couple of weeks. I reckon that's enough. We've been going for a sufficient number of minutes to get to the Final Word Hall of Fame. The Final Word Hall of Fame is brought to you by me and Cam and our beautiful patrons. Sign up to the Patreon account, patreon.com/the final word. We're making a lot of eps right now. In the feed this morning was an episode with Tom Hicks about his book Bowler's Name, which I found most enjoyable read, and also that's our new thing with the book club, which is quite a nerdy thing for us to do. Story time's in the feed tomorrow, which is quite funny, so dig into all of that, and we've got some big interviews coming next week. My Final Word Hall of Fame is, I know the Viz guys, and you're kind of one of them, get aroused by the analysis, 6 from 2, which suggests, well, it only means one thing, doesn't it? You've hit a 6 first ball, you've got that second ball. Then it's like the perfect analysis from you're doing your role thing. That's exactly what Moeen Ali did after being promoted ahead of Josh Butler, who kind of like a club Sunday captain is almost trying not to bat.
I wrote exactly that line in the piece where I was just like, he's just being the clubber. He's like, I'm going to give other people a go. I've had enough hits, actually. Someone else have a bat. And I can't go anywhere else. It's Gus finishing it off 3 and 3 or 3 and 4, whatever it was. How can it be anything else today for me? Done.
Thanks, Cam. We are hitting the road. The Final Word Daily in Birmingham and Nottingham will be brought to you by Jeremy Vernon Coney, who I went vintage shopping with today. Maybe he'll tell a story or two about some of the shirts he tried on. He's never hosted before, Jeremy, so hold on to your hats for that. And then Cam and I will be doing some of the one days later in the series. Thanks for watching. Patreon.com/the final word. Listen to everything in the feed. England smash it by 95 runs. See ya.